Howdy folks, this is Travis of Elston Equine Solutions down here at the Clopper Cow Company in the sunny side of Arizona. And thank you for tuning into my channel down here in my saddle house. Today's topic is a Marlin spike, otherwise known as a fid in some parts of the country. Now, what is a Marlin spike? Well, I got three demonstrations here. I'm going to present to you, the audience, of what a Marlin spike looks like. This is a Marlin spike. You can see this is one I made a few years ago, and all it is a piece of metal iron that is tapered down to a spike, henceforth the name, the Marlin spike. And you have different other examples. You have this one right here. It's a screwdriver handle, and it still has a shank on it with a very pointy tip. Here's a handmade one that was made a long time ago. Good friend of mine down in Missouri, old retired cowboy, gave this to me. All it is a piece of antler horn, a little section with a nail driven straight down into it, and then just fashioned into a sharp point with the handle on it. Okay, so this is also known as fids, Marlin spikes, hole punchers, and so forth. They're very handy to have. Most cowboys that I know of, and me especially, always carry mine inside my saddlebags or inside my banana bag behind the cantle. Some people call it a cantle bag. And that's a good location to have one. And when I'm doing transporting this fid, and I don't want it to poke out my saddlebag, I normally just take an old shell casing from an old rifle round that was already fired. You can see it's punctured there, centered fired rig right here. And I'll just slide it right on the fid. And then I'll just take some handy dandy electrical tape. And I'll tape around both the shell and also right there on the piece of metal right there. You can see I'm going to apply the tape on there and just go around once or twice, and that's it. And then what I like to do is just fold the tape back upon itself, so that way it's easier to undo it when I need it, okay? So this doesn't come apart, and it'll flap around real quiet like, and it's worked for me. There's probably other tips out there. Some people probably grab a piece of leather, and what they'll do is just puncture through the piece of leather, back through the other side, and they'll basically create a hairpiece to keep the fid in, okay, just like this. And if you put that in your saddlebag, it's not going to poke through it, because see, it's pretty protected right there. So there's a couple different handy ideas of how to transport or use a fid. And it's a lot more practical a lot of times because you're worried about weight when you're riding than taking one of these on a trip, okay? So normally a Marlin spike has different diameter. It goes from very thick to a little bit medium hole to a small hole to very small hole, where this does exactly the same thing, except for you go from very small to large, and it's a big pair of handles on there, okay? You can see the size difference here, especially on some of the smaller ones. So a lot of times, you know, cowboys, buckaroos, cow punchers, whatever you want to name it, they'll just carry a fid like this, okay? Now, let's go over what a Marlin spike is used for. Well, we kind of demonstrate on this, but I'm going to demonstrate on a piece of material that I was working on. I was working on this set of reins right here. I actually had this actually pop off from here because I got caught in the brush. It's mesquite here in Arizona, and sometimes closed loop reins, yeah, probably not a good idea, but I do it anyhow. But anyhow, I got caught up here and it ripped out, and so I'm fixing it. So does Travis learn from mistakes like that? Yeah. But when you're in a hurry, sometimes, hey, you got to cowboy up and just get out there, and I didn't have time to make me different rein connectors they're designed to separate. Anyhow, getting back on topic, what I'm going to do is demonstrate using a fid or a Marlin spike, as some people call them, depending on what part, region or country you're from. In country, I mean United States, but it could be east, west, north, and south for sure, because you got different dialects and different accents around this outfit. Okay, so I got mine measured, and all I'm going to do is take my fid, and I'm going to mark where I want it. And I'm just going to punch it right through the leather. Now that's too small, so I'm going to keep on pushing a little bit more, and I might just twist it so I can get a very good bite into the leather. And you can see what I'm doing right here. This is starting to become easier than flapjacks, making flapjacks that is. And I'm just going to make it wide enough on this side where I can put a rivet through it. That's a pretty good size hole right there, savvy? Now I'm going to do the other side. Now these things are very sharp, so I don't recommend pushing it towards you. You might become a shish kebab if you do that, and we don't want that, folks. Okay. All right, so I got a hole on both sides now. Now what I'm going to do is take my rivet, place it right through the hole, and then through the next one, and voila, I have it set. Now I'm just going to take my setter, place it on top, grab my handy tool burr setter, tap it down. And take it off. I'm going to grab my pair of dikes. You got a little bit of nub out there. I could take, you got one portion you put the rivet in, then you got a flattening piece that's kind of dished in there. That's what I'm going to put over top of the rivet. Until it's nice and rounded and seated like this. So you can see I did with the Marlin spike easily what I did with this. Okay, so this one's heavyweight. It's pretty nice if you're back at the ranch, or back at your farm, or back at your horse trailer, or trailhead, or whatever. But normal everyday use, you probably want to use something like this. Okay, very nice. Now there's times I've been in the Grossmont wilderness, deep in the wilderness on a pack trip with livestock with a string, and have to put a hole in through some nylon. And one time we had a halter show up there, and it was just too darn loose for the pack animal. The pack animal kept getting out of it. So all Travis did was heat up the end of the Marlin spike, and I just put it right through there, and it melted a nice hole right through this after I had it sitting in a campfire, okay? So I just had this glowing, a little bit red, not enough to melt the metal, but enough where it's hot enough where I could just go whoop right through the nylon, you know? So that's a pretty handy thing also for the Marlin spike and a fid. Another thing you can use a fid for is something like this. So if you got cotton rope or a type of a rope and you're doing a back splice or whatever, sometimes you have to open up one of these to be able to cross a rope through, or one of the strands rope. So you can see I can put that, separate it, and then I can push a rope right through it. So that's another application. You can see I do it right here. Make a hole, I can insert it. So that's one of the applications of having a fid, okay? These are used a lot of times on ships, Marlin spikes, you know, another name for it. It's just a good handy piece of equipment to have, okay? And I'll probably make some more of these. If you folks are interested, just hit comment and Might make some and sell them on my page if there's enough interest. But I don't go anywhere without one of these Marlin spikes. So now you know what they're used for, what the types are, and how handy they are. So now you became the solution because you have the knowledge. Until next time, take care. Adios.